Land deals don't fail on paper, they fail on the ground. I'm Malcolm Afonso, founder of Spatialcraft. I'm making this video to spread a general awareness of what we do, how we help our clients who have business with land deals, and if something resonates with you, be assured that we have a solution for it too. So let's get started. Well, here's what happens in land deals. You visit a site, get the title verified, hire a lawyer, sign the deal, and that's it. Everything looks perfect. Well, that is exactly where the surprises start. The developer realizes that the boundary that is placed on the ground is not exactly where it should be. The architect realizes that there are regulatory constraints in this land that make the project unfavorable or unfeasible. The investor realizes that the area on the ground is less than what he had purchased, and so on. Let me give you an example. For any land parcel, if you ask for the area figure, you would get different answers. The area as mentioned in the property document, the form 1 and 14, the area that you get when we consider the survey plan and its dimensions, and then the area that you actually measure on the ground. One single land parcel but multiple different areas. So which area are you buying? This uncertainty is exactly where we at Spatialcraft operate. What's more important is what is defensible in view of the required permissions, transactions, whatever the deal is. What's important is what is actually defensible, especially when it involves transaction, approvals, permissions. So in any project, we find different levels of uncertainty, like the landowner who is uncertain about what actually he owns, whether the area that is mentioned in the document is actually what area he has. The broker or the investor whose uncertainty lies on understanding whether this is an opportunity worth pursuing or not. Then the uncertainty of the developer who is uncertain about buildability aspect of the land. Will my project fit on the land? Is it feasible? We address each of these issues, and I'm going to share this with a few case studies that we have dealt with. Real client, real deals, real risk. Let's consider our first client, Miss Sandy from Seoul. She has a gift deed in her name, a buyer ready to purchase the property. Everything looks perfect. Not really. She had some basic questions. The deed was executed 20 years back and she did not know where her property boundary was actually. She did not know what the area of the property was that she could sell. Also, she had a concern that her relative may have encroached upon her property. She had all the documents, but certainty about what she would be selling to the buyer was not there. So when we analyze this parcel of land, we realize that the area on the sale deed was one, and as per the government survey plan, the area was another. So we suggested her to survey the entire property, including the adjacent property, and then reconcile this information with the government survey plan. And this is what it revealed. She already had the area on the ground that was entitled to her as per the sale deed. However, the government survey plan showed a larger area. Moreover, there was a nulla passing through her property that was not reflected in the gift deed, which was adding more area to her property. So, when this analysis was done, she realized that the encroachment that she pointed out or feared would not really affect the area that she was entitled to enjoy and sell. This gave her the confidence to deal with the buyer with confidence and transparency. She didn't need a survey, she needed certainty. Now let's go to our next client. This client is a brokerage firm. They have a lot of properties as leads. However, their challenge is not finding a property but knowing which property to pursue and which one to reject immediately. They assigned us a hillside property. It had amazing views and looked promising, and that is exactly where the surprises hide. The place had a slope, every contour mattered, the trees and vegetation mattered, and in this large parcel there were several regulatory zoning involved which mattered. So we went about doing a very detailed physical topographical survey covering contours, trees, structures, and an aerial survey. And then we integrated all this ground data with the government survey plans, zoning plans, and this is what we realized. The owner had put the boundary markers beyond what was actually permissible as per the survey plan. There were tenants in this property that had encroached beyond what they were actually entitled to. Moreover, the zones involved in this property included no development slopes, private forest, partly orchard, and settlement. Without factoring any of these parameters, the deal that seemingly looked like an asset would turn into a liability. In such a situation, it is not about acquiring the property quickly, but knowing exactly what you are acquiring. Because speed comes from clarity, not haste. Our next client is a real estate developer working across Goa, India, and also internationally. They realize that every project should begin with complete clarity because uncertainties, when they are discovered later, are exponentially more expensive to fix compared to detecting them earlier. For instance, a boundary deviation when detected during acquisition can be managed. The same deviation when detected during construction can almost stop a project or destroy the project completely. So, we support them their entire project at various phases. Here's how we do it. At the acquisition phase, we do the spatial due diligence where we reconcile physical ground reality with the paper truth, identify boundary deviations, excesses, terrain, encroachment to give a complete ground reality check. Then architects design on these outputs and considering there are high resolution map and physically surveyed data, they can digitally validate their design that it will fit, consider the terrain, trees, and validate the design digitally before moving the design to approval and on-ground marking. Once the design is approved, we stake out the same digitally validated design on the ground so that the construction takes place exactly where it was approved, no deviation. Finally, when the project is in execution, we periodically survey the land using drones and physically to enable the project stakeholders to digitally monitor, analyze, and visualize this site without actually coming to the ground. Then, finally, our work, including the smart interactive digital map, virtual reality tours, and 3D models, help the client to present this property in a clear, transparent manner with confidence to their channel partners, board members, project stakeholders, as well as customers. So, what we see here is three different clients. All of them said they needed a survey, but they had different questions, and their need was, however, the same. The landowner needed certainty before selling. The broker needed certainty before committing to the deal. The developer needed certainty before building. All three needed certainty before making a land decision. And that's exactly what we deliver. Here's a quick demo of our smart interactive digital map and how we deliver our projects to clients.
Boundary, road, structure, measurement.
Here's an actual 3D model integrated with virtual tour of the actual site where you can remotely navigate the entire project site and understand it with complete clarity without the need for physically visiting the site. And here's what our clients had to say. Mr. Amit Chopra from Escala Realty.
Almost 4 years now that we have been working with you. Best part is when I met Malcolm, I was looking for somebody who could do a drone survey, not just a drone shoot of my property. And I wanted it done in a specific way which will come very handy in designing for me. Not just marking of boundaries, of course, that was the main aim, that we wanted to demarcate our boundaries, check whether the boundary layouts were right, whether the buildings we were planning were right? Because didn't want to destroy the contour of the place. We wanted to use it in a better way to design the projects. So, to our pleasant surprise, Malcolm was not only ready to listen, he understood the pain points, and Malcolm also devised a manner that came very handy for us in planning of our projects, of planning a better planning of land development of projects, and it helped us.
Here's how you can find us referrals or know that the customer needs our service. When you hear something like, I inherited land and don't know where it is. We are evaluating a large land parcel. We are buying land for development. The land boundaries seem unclear. We need to know what's actually buildable. We want to avoid surprises before investing. We've been serving landowners, land investors, property brokers, architects, developers, and project management consultancy firms among some of the few client categories. So before you buy, before you sell, before you build, understand it. We don't help people just survey the land. We help people make better land decisions. Thank you.